Okay. Heather Usry. Okay. This is the crowd. We have a 16 and 17-year-olds, grown-ups. Okay. And you too. Okay. Okay. So, overnight success stories have become more and more commonplace in recent years, but the overnight success story I'm going to share with you today was actually 10 years in the making. As we were assigned to do a biographical speech, I chose to do Lizzo, American singer, songwriter, entertainer, because I've always been drawn to her music just because of, you know, the quality of it, but also because of the positive message throughout. So to start, Lizzo was born Melissa Vivian Johnson in April of 1988 in Detroit, Michigan. Her parents were a devout religious family, and she was exposed to musical artists, their gospel artists, and musical greats like Aretha Franklin. And by the time she was about fifth grade, in the fifth grade, her family had moved to Houston, Texas, and this is where she began playing the flute in band class in the fifth grade. And she was a natural, and even prodigy level at that. And by the time she was in the eighth grade, she was playing for the high school band. She used that talent to get a scholarship to the University of Texas at Houston, and she was playing in the Cougars marching band by the time she went to college. Shortly after she was in college, in her second year of study, her father actually passed away, and that was in 2009. And at that time, it threw her into turmoil and depression, and she dropped out of school. She lost her scholarship, and because she was living in a dorm at that time, she became homeless and really kind of lost her purpose and didn't know how she was going to pursue music in her future. At a few years later, in about 2011, she did end up moving to Minneapolis, Minnesota, where she got kind of her first exposure to some success by Prince. He actually featured her on one of his last albums before he died. And she said that being featured by Prince gave her validation for music that she had never really had before, and that was a really inspiring and wonderful feeling for her. She continued to be in various performing groups and performed in clubs, and at the time she was giving it everything that she had, musically, financially. She was giving away tickets to fill a room and ended up with negative balance in her bank account at that time, and she just continued to feel discouraged. Even after the little bit of success that she had, she continued to be discouraged at her ability to make a living performing and making music. She did release an album in about 2016 that what would become her number one hit, Truth Hurts, was featured on. However, that single really didn't get any popularity until about 2 or 3 years later, when it was featured on a movie that was on Netflix. It was featured in the trailer for Netflix, so it did her music was exposed to a much broader audience in that medium, and kind of became organically grew from that medium to TikTok and Spotify, and she became it became a trend to do the DNA test. And so with that, after it was about in 2019, about 2 or 3 years after the single had been released, that people started kind of looking back into her catalog, and Truth Hurts became kind of a summer anthem of 2019. And that's, from there, she kind of springboarded her popularity with that song, and became kind of a role model for body positivity, and used her fame to promote success for women that looked like her, that were Black and plus size. And she wanted to use her fame to promote people who fit that mold. And I think in 2019 was really when her fame began to peak. She won 3 Grammys, and she was in talks with Amazon to create content for Amazon Prime, for which she won an Emmy in 2020, which was a competition show to find backup singers. It was called Get Ready for the Big Girls. And that's, again, continued to catapult her fame and catapult her message of positivity. She said that she wanted to give people who looked like her an opportunity to see themselves in her. And so in doing that, she was able to, say, keep on working, keep on inspiring. In 2019, she tweeted out that 2009 was the year her father died. It was the year she was homeless. It was the year that she was sleeping in her car. But in 2019, her song was #1. She was able to buy her mom a house. And so, although her story began seeking out music and pushing, kind of climbing that, aspiring to climb that ladder to stardom, it took her over 10 years to become an overnight success.